So your question was, you had, I'll create a, just to make it simpler, I'll create a comp called circle, and I'll make it 500 by 500. Well, let's call it, yeah, circle, that's right. And I'll draw a circle. And that's going to be your shape, right? That was like your shape before. So let's just make it look a little more interesting like you were going to do. So I'll increase the roughen edges, right? Then I'll go back, and in my new comp, I'll put in circle. So what you wanted to do was have one object that was kind of flying in here, and it would go to about there, and then there might be another object here. And you want this to break in half and then flow into that object.
Top and bottom. Okay.
Sorry?
Top and bottom.
Yep. So what I'll do is I'll treat it as one object first, and I'll say, okay, so I've animated that, it flies in there, maybe I'll put a bit of easing. And so it flies in, stops there, and then after that we want it to break up and move into there. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, that's the basics of what happens. I'll leave that there, and I'll duplicate this layer, and I'll delete the keyframe so that layer's not doing anything, right? And I'll make it a different color just so that we can see it. Just make it white, right? So the old one is dark, but I'll parent this one to the old one, so it moves with it. Now I can treat it separately. So as soon as it's slowing down, then I will go position, scale, rotation, and I'll keyframe those, and then by about here, I'll scale it up, I'll move it here, and I'll probably rotate it about that much. And I'll ease this side. So it moves with the object then, and then it starts moving away, right? Until about there. Now I might change the rotation so that it doesn't rotate. Oh, I'll leave it for now. We'll do it in a sec. I'll change the position by grabbing the pen tool and doing this so that it gets a bit higher. I might change the scale so that it scales up sooner. Right? Now I know that when that point hits here, it should be going behind there. So I'm going to now draw a mask on this that looks like this. Now it can look like it's moving into that. I might have to add more rotation keyframes to there. Right, so it's moving in. Might need to ease this one a little bit. See how it's, I'll leave that for now. I'll come back to it. So it moves from that position to there and goes all the way in.
So if like I want to make it top and bottom, I make it too.
Yeah, so we just do the exact same thing. We duplicate it again, and we'd do it down
Oh.
this time and mask a different area. So I'll just do the top one. And you could split it perfectly in half if you want, but that just means you're going to need to animate the mask.
Split into two, like 2 layers.
No, so let's look at this mask. Here I want it to be this long, but back here I might want it to be exactly half. And I've just animated that mask path, right? So now it's going to grow as it moves. So then the last bit is when this goes into here, I want it to not come out the other side. So I can do it 2 ways. I can animate this mask going back, and that's probably the quickest and easiest way, but it's going to be a bit dirty because you're going to have to keep doing this and just moving this back. But we can't see what happens there anyway, so it's probably the way to go. Right? Or you could use a track map, but that in this instance, because this is so long, it might actually get more complicated, but this one works.
Still. And like how if like I want to continue like from the sun to earth, so like the scene in the back in the universe like still like moving without change the scene.
I might check Vanessa's question first
Oh,
and then come back to that. But one last thing of this, if you want to record it again.
can you use my buttons?
That's okay. I'm recording it. I'll put it online afterwards.
Thank you.
So this plays, and notice when it gets to here, it suddenly goes fast, right? Because rotation has a keyframe there, and it's slower here, and it's faster here. So here it suddenly changes speed. So that's where we look at the graph editor. We click on rotation, look at the graph editor, and notice that it's suddenly changing there. So we want to hold the pen tool and hold Option and drag that out to smooth that speed change out. Yeah, now it's nice and smooth. And that's it.